Hello everybody, how you doing? Today I'd like to go ahead and talk about repetition and reward. It's something that helps us get what we're after. Unfortunately, if we're repeating the incorrect things, the reward we're going to get is not what we're looking for. And so I'd like to tell you a little bit of a story so that you will actually see that repetition and reward in my life. One of the things that I was very good at was basketball. However, I was not a very good foul shooter. As a result, in pressure situations, I was about 50%. Didn't really practice it a lot until after this happened. I was at a very important game, and I was fouled with about 30 seconds left. The score was tight. And I had to make 2 foul shots so that we would at least be up by 2 with 30 seconds left. So I'm standing on the foul line, understanding all the circumstances, understanding the importance of the moment. And I started to go ahead and go through my rhythm. My reputation was on the line as a good shooter. So I started to go through and I made the first one. It was awesome. Now we're up 1 point. So I went ahead and grabbed the ball and took the second shot, of which I missed. The rebound was from the other team. They drove down, about 12 seconds left, passed the ball a couple times. It's now about 3 seconds left. The opposition player took a jump shot, made the shot. We lost by 1 point. I tell you that because I did not have any repetition when it came to practicing my foul shots. I was rewarded because I did not practice the shots. The reward I got was I missed the shot. If I had practiced, if it was more consistent, I would in fact been rewarded with a higher percent of making the shot. Once I realized that my lack of preparation cost us the game, I went back to the gym, and for the next 3 weeks, every day after practice, I took 50 foul shots. I checked the mechanics that I was using. I checked how the ball came out of my hand. I looked at the rotation of the ball and many other key factors which were indicating that if I had put these all together properly, I would become a much better foul shooter. This went on for 3 weeks. 50 shots from the foul line each and every day. The proficiency certainly was raised. I went from a 52% foul shooter into the mid to high 80s in a short period of time. So when the next pressure situation came along and they fouled me so that I could possibly miss the shot and give them the game, they were unaware of how hard I practiced. And I started making foul shots in pressure situations without a problem. So I took repetition, made it part of my life, but I also knew the reward I wanted. I knew the end in mind. I knew what was important. So that I had to repeat positive body movements in order to create a very strong foul shot reward. You know, that's a lot like life. In business, when you go through a decision-making process, you have developed many different ways of viewing things. You look at things, whether they be from accumulating all the facts, whether it's using your intuition, whether it's a bunch of things. What you do is you start to realize that you have practiced many different behaviors that allow you to make a great decision. That is your reward. The hard work pays off, as they say. In personal lives, hopefully we're around to gather the information that we see in family dynamics. And when somebody comes up and says, so what do you think? Instead of saying, well, go speak to X person, you're able to sit down, explain in detail how you came to the decision and why that decision is going to stay. Life changes. There are so many different variables that we have to have some sort of basic in our lives, some foundation, something that allows us to feel comfortable. And those are good behaviors. Those are practiced thought processes. Or to go back to my basketball practice, it was going through all of the mechanics on a consistent basis so that I would make foul shots more often than not. So repetition and reward are necessary. So when you go looking for the
key decision that you've made, the outcome that you're experiencing from that key decision is based on repetition and reward. You repeatedly do a certain behavior. You repeatedly are going through, perhaps it's a comfortable situation that gets you X result. So habitually, you know from repetition how it's going to work. And although that can be exceptionally comfortable, it also can be very, very, very ineffective. If you're using the same types of decision-making process today that you used 8 years ago, you are not making decisions with proper information. I will give you an example. So you are not very computer savvy. You have to now do work on Zoom. Unaware of what Zoom was, you had to figure out how to get on the app, mute, and all these other fun things. You also had to put a delay in the way you communicated as it was being processed onto the other people on the Zoom call. You found yourself waiting to make sure nobody else was going to talk while you wanted to talk, and you ended up saying, "Excuse me," a lot, or "I'm sorry, why don't you go first?" But as you got more and more effective on Zoom calls, you became more exposed to these different types of interruptions. You started to go ahead and maneuver your expectations and became effective using a Zoom call and its format. You started to evolve with the Zoom format and how to communicate with others. You made a conscious decision to be in the moment on that Zoom call. You made a conscious decision on learning how to react and what to expect from that call. After being on them for a while, you now are more proficient at it, you're more comfortable at it, and you have now accepted it as just part of your process from day to day. If you were still working on an old decision, which was, I don't know much about computers, I am not going to be comfortable on this Zoom call, I cannot do it, and it was based on a fear that was established when you were younger, when you got a cell phone and you didn't even know where the mute button on the cell phone was, so you decided that back then you were not going to be comfortable with computers. So now that's not true because you're older, you have more experience, you've been exposed to it more, but if you didn't evolve through time, then you would still be working on the wrong decision for today's world. You'd be stagnant. So it's important that you go back. It's important that you look at why you had the key decision made. But it's really important that you look at today's, what we do, how we do it, and the repetition and repetition of our behaviors and what the result is. Need to identify the key decisions, but once you've done that, if you don't take time to go back and readjust your behaviors, you're gonna get the same reward that you no longer deserve. The reward is not updated because it's working on an old premise, an old decision. On Zoom calls, you're very comfortable now. On videos from YouTube, very comfortable now. Have a greater understanding because you got the reward of not being stagnant and you started to repeat believable, workable behaviors, and all that came because you made a new key decision on how you were going to go forward in your life. Key decisions, repetition, and reward. So, how do you go ahead and investigate your life and how these things actually become part of your behaviors, of who you are? Pick some time in your life where there was something emotional happening and look at how you made that decision and what behaviors have you been doing repeatedly over the course of when that decision was made to where you are now. Then, once you've identified that, take a look at your decision-making process today, utilizing everything that you have, from experience to data collecting to overall impression of what the situation would be. I guarantee you that you will in fact look at life a little bit differently because you're not basing your life off a stagnant decision years ago. You've now updated your decision process to be the best you right now. Look forward to talking with you later. Thanks so much for spending time with me. Again, this is Tom Curry, Endure Through Fear, and I look forward to seeing you on the next video. Have a wonderful day. Be excited.